Hey everyone, welcome to Coffee Chat. This is Dr.Jane Ruby. Brand new special cup. This coffee chat, I'm going to warn you, could be a little bit on the longer side. But we haven't had them for a couple of weeks or so now, so I thought you'd welcome it. Yep, this cup came to me. I just got it yesterday when I went to the office to pick up mail. Fa cup. Love it. Love it. Wait till I tell you who sent it and why. So this cup came to me. I want to thank her profusely. Pam is in California. That's all I'm going to say. I'm trying to protect people's identities. Isn't that crazy? Unless you tell me not to. Unless you tell me to say your full name and where you're from. But Pam she says, Dear Dr. Jane Ruby, PhD, nurse practitioner par excellence. Thank you. Thank you. I've always been proud of being a nurse practitioner. I've never said I was an MD, and I wouldn't want to be. They're prostitutes, and they probably directly responsible for murdering millions of human beings around the world. But I digress. Beautiful card with hearts. Making others happy comes naturally to you. Just a beautiful verse. She says, God bless you, and thank you for your tremendous and brilliant work and humanitarianism. With love and respect, Pam. Pam, absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much. And Pam had an extra note in there, and I'm not sure if I'm supposed to read it, but basically Pam intends this cup eventually to end up with Robert Malone. She said, please see important message, then send this mug to the crazy, obviously obsessive and narcissistic, quote, doctor, that's her quotes, Robert Malone. He sued my awesome mental mentor. You and the Bregan, mentors, you and the Bregan, and obviously he's a sore loser. May justice be done quickly. Per Jesus, amen. Amen. And then she's got another note. I think it's private between her and I. It's a little joke. Okay. And I also want to make some special thanks also to, there were some beautiful cards in the mail, and there were a couple of donations. I want to thank Ronald in Arizona. Ronald, thank you for your generosity and your thoughtfulness, and I love the smiley heart on the check. And a very special donation. Oh, Ronald had a note. I'm sorry. Ronald had a note on his check. And then a very special donation from Rob. Rob, thank you so much. Very thoughtful, very loving, and all of you, very generous. I thank you so much. Rob is from Hilo, Hawaii. I don't think that narrows you down, Rob, but I hope everything went well. We were watching very closely after the Russian earthquake and then the tsunami reports and warnings. Glad everything has stopped. Okay, so let's get on with it. Today I'm going to talk about the lies. In an information war, you don't use tanks and guns, you use lies. You literally create, we are in danger now with the help of artificial intelligence. Anyone can lie and say, hey, Joe Blow next door is a rapist, and I've got a tape that can show you his very face, him, you know, in the backyard, and he was raping this child on the ground. And AI can create that for you, especially if you know what you're doing. This is how dangerous this stuff can be. So I want to talk about the lies, because I think you need to really focus on being alert and aware that you could be thrown off, you could be under attack in a sense with lies coming at you, especially about people that you trust. That doesn't mean that this is where it gets tricky. This doesn't mean that you don't discern anymore and you stick with the people that you trust and you don't listen to anybody that says anything about them. This is where it gets hard. But understand that even if somebody comes up to you or presents you with something to make your trusted persons or persons in the health freedom movement all of a sudden look 180 degrees, flipped completely, something that shows them differently than you've ever known them, get corroborating information. Get information from that person. Put a lot of things together. Don't just take that one thing and then say, I'm done, because that's what they want you to do. So let's go through some of the lies. I just posted the worst of the worst. I didn't think the New York Times could get any worse, but they did. They published this picture of a mother holding her child who is dying from a degenerative neuromuscular wasting disease. And they present it and say it's basically because of the bombings from Israel over to Gaza. Look, forget your political position. There's a reason I don't get involved I don't like to see the bombing and the killing of innocent people in a war, trumped up war, from either side. I don't stand with either of them. How's that when it comes to bombing, killing? You want to kill each other in the armies? The armies at least volunteer to be in the armies, right? Well, Israel has a requirement. But, I mean, you can get out of it if you leave the country and all that. But the point is, soldiers are in there for a reason. Citizens, the public is not in there to be hit with bombs and to be killed, okay? Okay. So they put this picture and make it sound like one side over the other. They get caught in a lie because everybody, the truth just always comes out. It's like a lion. You don't have to just set it, let it go, and it'll come out. And turns out that this child has this disease. I mean, you want to make your point, then at least be honest about it and find the real evidence or pictures of what the point is you're trying to make on either side. That's my point. And don't get into the comments under my Rumble with, well, this one's right, but yeah, you're right, but, this other. It's not what it's about. Issue by issue, stick with it. Try to figure it out, issue by issue, because a lot of them overlap purposely. So they get caught with their pants down. They make up stuff. They're probably the most dangerous mainstream media rag on the planet. They lied about the climate. They are, it's actually, the other name for them is New Woke Times, right? All the lies that are fit to print. So beware. And they may try to punish me for that. Okay, Albert Bourla, he's another liar, right? He's the CEO of Pfizer. Mr. Bourla has all these authoritative comments about Pfizer's pharmaceuticals, about the springing, rates of cancer. And he's in a clip in my Twitter talking about, all over social media, talking about how, cancer has just exploded and colon cancer is the worst. Really? You know what one of the highest exploding cancers is? Mr. Bourla, veterinarian, probably never even took care of a dog in his life. One of the highest rates of exploding cancers is colon cancer. But here he comes out from the shots. Here he comes out because the game is to just like Trump, just like Kennedy. Now Kennedy pretends it doesn't exist, which is why he's a fraud. He's not coming out saying, look, guys, I got in here. The machine is big. Even if he's placating, at least do a better job of it. He doesn't even talk about it, except he goes on Tucker Carlson, who helps the operatives, okay? Anybody who goes on Tucker, goes on Joe Rogan, immediate red flag. I know that Catherine Austin Fitts went. I talked to her about that, but she may be in the gray area, okay? Because everything else she does makes sense. Okay, let's get back to the main point. So Kennedy goes on Tucker, and they lay him up nicely, and Tucker serves the ball. Do you have any concerns about mRNA? And Kennedy's like, oh, yes, I do. I have concerns. Filthy, rotten liar. He's a scumbag because he didn't remove the mRNA from the childhood schedule. He moved it. He didn't remove it. He moved it. He moved it to a different section. And then they put up something so it doesn't show on the schedule visually. Please see notes. And you go down to the notes. Same thing. Pregnant women and babies. You're a murderer when you knowingly lie about something being safe and effective, or when you lie and tell the public, I took it off the schedule. You didn't take it off the schedule. You didn't remove it. You just moved it. Then we have the lies, and this is directed at all of you COVID shot injured out there. The lies being fed to the COVID injured are just unending. And I'm waiting for you guys as a group to stop holding your spaces where you sit there and whine and bitch and cry. Enough after 2 years. Nobody's coming to rescue you. Newsflash, nobody's coming to stop it. Only all of us can stop it. Let's get together. I'm angry because you're being used. You're being used, some of you, when you get called up to Capitol Hill for the fake hearings. And after 3 years, was I right? Dr. Jane, was I right? What have they done besides hold the hearings? What have they done after the hearings? Except fundraise for their, and successfully get reelected. Ron Johnson, Rand Paul. What have they done? Your only answer is nothing. Sitting in spaces night after night, and I've met some of you at the recent Thrive in 25. You're fabulous human beings. You're fiery. You know what's been done to you. But you still do the same thing. Some of you, not hitting everybody, over and over. Some of you like Julie Butte on Twitter. You're going to those meetings. Look, you're going to the meetings of the perpetrators. I love you dearly. And it's not to pick on Julie. She's one of the most incredibly prolific activists I've ever seen in my life. I've learned a lot from her. But I'm even more endeared now that I've met her and talked to her. Same with Chalet. It's time for something different. Because they're lying. They're lying. They're lying to you. None of these elected officials, except maybe on those, what I think Julie's smart about doing is going to those local, because that's the only power we have left, and it's very little. But that's the only power we have if they don't do what we want to have them do, because that you can pull their surety bonds. I'm sure there are poison pills in your documents in your towns and cities where you can do a vote of no confidence. There are ways to get rid of them, okay, legally and peacefully. But to go to these Congress, and this goes for the military, guys like John Frankman, great American hero. Soldier. He's up there on Capitol Hill partying and selfies, not getting it. Those are the people that did it to you. Those are the people that exempted themselves and sat there silent while you guys were thrown in the brig or shot up and dead now. They still do it to you. They're funding it. The COVID shot injured are being re-victimized, not only with the fake hearings and the fake promises from state and federal elected officials and bureaucrats that they're going to do something for you, but you're being re-victimized and you're being abused by snake oil sales. Now, unfortunately, a fair number of really prominent, high-profile, easy name recognition frontline doctors are involved in snake oil. Snake oil is the term we use for fake products. Snake oil used to be used, I guess, in the mining industry 100, 200 years ago, and it was therapeutic, and when they ran out of it, the workers demanded it, so they faked it, and they made something else, and they sold it. They gave it to them. And they were so desperate for relief that people paid for it and believed, Snake oil sales. I got contacted yesterday on Twitter, and for many of you don't use Twitter or Telegram, you won't know this story, so I'm going to tell it on the coffee chat. Got contacted yesterday. I'm going to avoid using the name just yet, but eventually I'm going to watch them and I see if I can pinpoint any fraud, and then I will bring their name out. But they contacted me by direct message on Twitter, and they asked me to look at their spike reduction treatment. Well, it turns out that their spike reduction treatment is nothing more than their term, augmented. I'm going to explain to you why that's important in a minute. NAC. So NAC is N-acetylcysteine, and it is something that Dr. Zelenko put on his protocol for flu symptoms, especially because he understood gain of function was a manipulation of organisms or synthetic particles that are heavy metal toxic, parasitic related. And so he developed this early protocol before the hydroxychloroquine push. He developed this protocol of quercetin, which is a zinc ionophore. I think he had a lot of understanding of what the gain of function was at that time, could still sometimes be, so just bear with me on that. So, and one of the other compounds, zinc, quercetin, NAC, vitamin C, and some other things. Okay. Pharmaceutical companies and nutraceutical companies, which are under similar requirements as pharma, they can't market something that occurs in nature, okay? Unless they just market NAC, base foundation powder or something, and it's like $5 or something. It's when they hep it up with a claim, and then they tell you it's augmented. They had to say it's augmented, and they had to augment it, because if you try to promote something that occurs in nature, that's against FDA, and I don't even know if they uphold their own laws anymore, but you're not allowed to, which is why pharma loves to bastardize molecules, add another thing on the end of it, and that gives you all the side effects. Okay. My first question out of the box is, well, how are you measuring this spike protein that is supposedly a tiny piece off of something that's so small you can only see it on an electron microscope? Number one. Number two, again, how are you measuring this thing from a virus that's never been proven or demonstrated proven to exist by virtue of isolating it as a whole virus? Because you can hand me a piece of anything and blindfold me and it could be anything, right? I got to see the whole thing. And then you show me where the part is. So if that whole thing, that whole SARS-CoV-2 virus as a whole thing has never been demonstrated to exist, where are you getting the spike protein? How are you identifying it? How do you know that's what it is? See, that's called empiricism. In real scientific research, discovery research, of which I spent 20 years of my life, longer, 25 actually, it's about the empirical method. It's pre and post test. It's measuring pre-test. It's identifying, it's demonstrating. Empiricism, what you can sense, touch, feel, hear, see, smell. How are you identifying it? What? You can't throw any instrument at me, because we only work with validated instruments. You have to validate an instrument for two things. Validate that it sees what it's supposed to see. Oh yeah, that's a spike protein, and here's how we know. And then validate it for reliability, meaning every time I use this machine, it does what it's supposed to do. It diagnoses, it fixes, whatever, okay? Couldn't answer those two questions. And then I asked, what validated instrument are you using to measure, identify, was the second question. The third question is, what validated instrument are you using to do your pre and post-treatment measurements? Because you got to be able to say, hey, you got 1,000 spikes, then I gave you my onion powder, and then you came out with 50 spikes. And that's enough of a difference from placebo, which should be no treatment. And that's another lie I'm going to get to in a minute. And your treatment. And that's how we know your treatment has some signals of efficacy. Never even approached that. Just kept referring me to some obscure doctor on some website. I didn't say it was from a virus. Oh, well then where are you getting your spike? Because the spike is supposed to be the foreign protein off of, supposedly, theoretically, the virus. Okay? So it's all twisted. And I know that a lot of you that are injured from these shots, you're struggling, you're not feeling well, you're weakened, you're sick, you're damaged and injured, and it's hard to, stay on them for that stuff. But you've got to, or you're going to be drained. Gosh, it was Catherine Austin Fitts who said that they calculated out the expense of being COVID shot injured, mRNA injured. It's over $1 million. It's a mechanism for bankruptcy and dependence on the state. And y'all should be super angry. Super angry. Okay, the vaccine trials are a lie. You know why? Because they lied both ways. They played both sides. First, they told you it was safe and effective. Okay, how do you know? Well, we ran trials. Okay, well, what did you use in the trial? Well, we ran phases 1, 2, and 3 simultaneously. Can't do that because the results of phase 1 inform the design of phase 2. And the results of your phase 2 human studies inform the design and conduct of your phase 3 trials. And then you put all that together and you've got what's called a data package. So they said they did it. We said, well, what'd you use for placebo? Well, we used another vaccine. What? No, a placebo-controlled trial. Now you're in my wheelhouse. I love when people say, you're not a doctor. Most MDs wouldn't know jack shit about running medical research trials. They have no idea. And they certainly don't know. Let's be honest. DC isn't going to give you a heads up when things go south. The market's already sliding. Inflation, still here. And over $4.2 trillion has just vanished from retirement accounts. And a recession is looking like it's now unavoidable. Look, that may not shake the billionaires on Wall Street, but if you've got a 401k or IRA, a hit like that could be a disaster. That's why more folks are turning to Augusta Precious Metals. They help you move part of your retirement into physical gold, something real, something that holds value when everything else is falling apart. And the best part? They make it simple. No pressure, no games, just a team that actually takes the time to walk you through it. So if you're serious about protecting what you've earned, go to goldwithjane.com or call them at 888-836-1890 and grab Augusta's free Gold IRA guide. It's your retirement. Make sure it's protected. Ladies and gentlemen, a quick break to alert you to the fact that there is a family of scam artists. I want to introduce you to this group in all over the state of Florida, but primarily in South Florida, operating as a company called Floridian Inc. or Floridian Pools. Also, they dissolved the LLC and they started a new one called the Hopewell Group. This is Elijahwan Davis, his father Ricky Davis, and his mother Vicky Davis. These people just scammed $9,300 deposit from some people very close to me who I care about and that are senior citizens, and they disappeared. They literally disappeared. They have terrible reviews online. Appears that they may have been stuffing Google reviews to make themselves look good, but we've hired a private investigator that has uncovered that they have a lot of problems with the law, a lot of suspended licenses, and of course they are taking deposits and then disappearing and then just going to the next family. They are based on Rosemary Street in West Palm Beach. I would like to make sure that everyone knows this operation and call your local police if they should show up, and you can show them this picture as well. We're going to hopefully get a show on Channel 5 WPTV in Palm Beach County, and also this crime has been reported to the Florida State Attorney General's office, the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Affairs, as well as the Better Business Bureau. They were not rated at all, and there were numerous complaints against them. Let's not let these people steal money and leave. This is a horrific crime. It's left people in shambles, and I'm determined to put them out of business, and then hopefully someday maybe contribute to getting them into prison. Thank you for your time and attention. So they said they did it. We said, well, what'd you use for placebo? Well, we used another vaccine. What? No, a placebo-controlled trial. Now you're in my wheelhouse. I love when people say, you're not a doctor. Most MDs wouldn't know jack shit about running medical research trials. They have no idea. And they certainly don't know how the regulatory situation works within pharma interfacing with the FDA. But again, I digress for edification. So you don't use another drug to test your drug, okay? You can, that's called a head-to-head when you're looking at differences in safety and things like that. But that's not what you do in your basic pivotal trials when you're looking for safety and efficacy. You use a real placebo so that if you're injecting your mRNA poison, that person is assigned by the computer randomly to the treatment, your randomly assigned person on the placebo group should get an injection of nothing, like innocuous, like saline or whatever. That would be the safest thing, saline. Nothing in it, won't do anything, has nothing. And then you measure the reactions of the two in both safety, side effects, and in efficacy for the outcome measures you're looking at. Okay, more than you want to know, I get it. But they're saying, oh, we did it, yeah, you did it against another vaccine, and that's a common practice of fraud in the research industry to block or obfuscate or cloud over the real differences in safety between of that drug. You make your drug look better, and it's fraud. But then they say, well, now there's we didn't have to do them. We're exempt. The FDA says we only have to do a couple of animal stuff. Which is it? You tested for safety and efficacy, or you don't have to do it? You're catching a lie. That's a rhetorical question, assisting you in catching a lie. Okay. The Merry Band of Liars on Capitol Hill. Ron Johnson, Marjorie Traitor Greene, Rand, I own tons of stock in everything, Paul. These people have lied to you over and over and over again. Marjorie Taylor Greene is introduced. I'm going to introduce a bill. First of all, on one hand, they're going, I'm going to introduce a bill. On the other hand, I'm only one person. I can't do everything. That's Massey's thing. I'm going to introduce a bill to change the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, so that Americans can eat. You're going to what? Yeah, that one went away fast, didn't it? Versus Massey. I'm only one person. I couldn't get the bill through because I'm only one person. Okay. You just had another dichotomous situation revealing a lie. Caught another lie. See where I'm going with this? Okay. And the theater of slapping each other on the back. God, I'm so sick of that. I want to thank, here's Kennedy. I want to thank POTUS today for being smart enough and have the vision to do X, Y, and Z and shove it up my butt while I do whatever he asks. Marty Makery is a fake puppet God, he makes me sick. I want to thank HHS Secretary Kennedy for having the wisdom and to give us the resources to run our dog and pony show of lies. Okay, Marty. Okay. Slapping each other on the back. It's all theater. God, and then that bimbo, Kristi Noem. I mean, look, I'm not in the government. I'm not a head of an agency in the federal government. The optics of, I'm just riding a horse down in, whatever, Venezuela or whether Colombia or wherever the hell she was, with her hair flying, and it's just like, galloping like from a distance, like it wasn't staged. You think those people are working for you? They're certainly not working for you in DC. But I guess with Elon's Starlink, they could work from anywhere. But how much Wi-Fi do you get out there in the middle of nowhere in Venezuela on a horse? Maybe you do, I don't know. I've lived the onslaught of lies against me. You get lies against... Now, some of the material outing people, because I said it's a delicate balance, are true. Some of the information coming out, but some of it is lies. And I'm warning you, it's going to get more confusing. You're going to see lies. You've already seen lies come out about me from Malone. Malone is leading the pack. And then I know who Malone's minions are. I'm not going to name all of them because I don't want to give them any oxygen. But all the people, I'll tell you, Mary Talley Bowden is one of his minions. She's blocked me and disparaged me from day one. Never met me, never spoke with me. But what I'm saying is, I can tell there's a chorus of defamation. And he's gotten away with a lot of it in the last year or two. He's actually, according to my attorneys, actually truly committed felony cyberstalking against me. And he's engaged in defamation. He's falsified or used falsified documents to try to smear me. But time and time again, it comes out that he's behind it, that he's doing it, and he's got this unrelenting obsession with me. And I want to make a second appeal now. I made an appeal last year to his family, particularly his wife, Jill, Dr. Jill Malone, to rein your husband in, honey. He's got a very important job. I personally think he's aiding and abetting the mRNA poisoning of the world by being part of an organization that has okayed more mRNA for babies. But that's just my personal opinion. But he's on thin ice, committing real defamation. According to my lawyers, it's real. They say I actually have a real defamation case against him. He's accused me of all kinds of things. And I can tell that others that have repeated those lies are using the same language or syntax to do it. So I know it's coming from him. It has his handprints on it, his fingerprints on it. I'm going to give you an example of something. I've told this story before. When I was a college professor, I taught undergraduate and graduate nursing. I taught people to become nurse practitioners. I'm very proud of that work. It was hard work and heavy work, and it had a lot of clinical, technical pieces to it, as well as the philosophical and the theoretical pieces to it. And I loved it. It was a great art. But when I was as a teacher, the one thing I just could not tolerate. I could tolerate lack of preparation and, maybe some people not having the intellectual capability as much as others. And they're all solutions for those things. Support, extra help, things like that. One thing I could not tolerate, and I had a wonderful dean. She was wonderful. My first nursing school dean that I worked for. And she agreed with me. And I said, Dean Andrews, I just can't tolerate plagiarism. Because if they're going to lie and present something and tell me they're a professor, the professor who's got to judge whether or not they're safe to go into a patient's room by themselves, they could do anything behind closed doors. She agreed with me. So the rule was, and I didn't make the rule, but she made the rule, in our department, undergrad or grad, if you were found to plagiarize, you had two choices. You could take an F for the course, which in nursing school is immediate dismissal from the program, can never reapply. Or you can redo the paper in your own words, showing all your references and proving it, and then getting a D for the course, which puts you on probation for the rest of your tenure. You can get straight A's, but that will always be there. Now, personally, I like the first choice because that kind of behavior is no place in a profession where you're supposed to be able to trust them. And now we know that, they're murderers. They're complicit. These nurses and nurse practitioners, they killed Grace Shera. They've killed so many people, families I've interviewed on my show. Okay. So I would get all my ducks in order. I could always tell. Here's how. And this will tie back to how I know Malone's hands are on a lot of these attacks that he's just up until a week ago. I mean, he's still lying, spreading lies, creates stories. They would listen to me, the student, and they, cry or break down or, I'm really sorry. I'd say, okay, take a day and get back to me tomorrow and let me know which choice you want to make. I mean, they were blown away. Because criminals don't expect to be caught. People that are deceiving, frauds don't expect to be caught in the daily routine. I have a family that was just scammed down here in Florida out of almost $10,000. They don't expect to be caught. I'm going to catch them a different way, but that's another story for another coffee chat. Okay. Invariably, when the student would get up and walk to the door, and I'd watch him walk to the door, and it was a heavy heart for me. That's not pleasant. I wish they were someone they weren't. But they would never come to me for a recommendation, and I would never give it. Because if you lie once, as Dr. Rick Rigsby says, you'll lie. If you lie about one thing, you'll lie about anything. They'd always stop at the door, and they'd turn around, and I'd go back to my writing, and Dr. Ruby, yes? How did you know? Did you cut and paste? How did you know? And I said, it's very easy. Syntax. What? What's syntax? Syntax is the way you express yourself and the way you put words together and the way you characterize something. It's not something you can study. It's a superpower of mine. It's how I called out frauds in the health freedom movement early, 2-3 years ago, and everybody hated me. But then they eventually said you were right. And I said to them, syntax. The way you spoke in class and reasoned and talked and presented is not the same person in that paper. It's not something you can hide. It's not something you can fake. So I tell you that when I get questions from people, well, Dr. Malone said you did this or that. The language, or if they'll say, I heard you did this, or I see documentation, whatever. We're in an AI world, anybody can make up anything. The syntax is, I've read his shit so many times in his Substack, on his social media. I know it's him. So when I hear somebody else accusing me of something in the same, it's not just language, not just putting words together. Syntax is a couple of levels deeper than that. And it's the same. Could I use that in a court of law? I don't know. Maybe we'll see someday. But I can tell you it makes me know. So, lies. When lies have the same syntax, I know it's coming from the same place. Okay. Doesn't matter who that other messenger is. I just saw the other day on Twitter, one of these fake accounts, I've got like 20 impersonator accounts. One of them said, and people are so stupid to believe that it's Okay, so this person says, Jane Ruby, I saw Jane Ruby smoking on a number of Rumble. I mean, okay, really? What was it, from 1973 when I was a sophomore in college? Yeah, I think I had a couple of puffs in the college bar. No, are you kidding me? I had cancer 3 times. I've had 2 primary breast cancers. Excuse me, I've had a malignant melanoma. That's the scar here. This giant scar was a Z-plasty, they call it. Luckily, cancer-free. But I've taken a lot of ivermectin since then, so who knows. But the point of the story is, smoke? Yeah, right. Whatever. Yeah, I don't think so. Okay. And watch the timing of the lies. This whole theme, the theme of this entire coffee chat has been lies. What are lies? How do they come at me? How do I protect myself? How do I vet things? It's always multiple sources. It's always information from the horse himself or herself. Okay. Lastly, I'll tell you that lies can also be omissions. In other words, things that are not done. Right? So lies can be a failure to act. I hit up Ron Johnson on that. Remember after his hearing a few months ago? He had a big report. It was something like failure to warn. Yeah, you're the Congress and you exempted yourself and you're saying, somebody in the government somewhere else was a failure to warn. How about failure to act, Ron? How about that? When people represent themselves as being a potential help to you, like a congressional member, and then they don't really do anything to help you, but they do things around it peripherally, like hold a hearing, stomp, up on, when they're speaking, up on the podium, or they're out in public, I'm gonna do this. And then you don't. That's a lie. Omission, failure to act. Failure to talk about the elephant in the room is a lie. The mRNA. Kennedy didn't, he hasn't talked about the mRNA, except that he went on Tucker. Tucker got him out of it. Right? Oh yeah, I'm really concerned about it. What has he done about it? But he's never talked about it until he got the layup from Tucker. Okay, we already went through that. Failure to follow through. Like I said, somebody, well-meaning military troop, John Frankman, is just my best example. Tried to warn him many times. He didn't block me, but he was, okay. Probably muted me. But went up there, went to the parties, went to the dinners, did his selfies, and, Senator, I'm really making headway. No. They committed failure to follow through upon John Frankman. They failed to follow through. They just took him out to dinner. That's a lie perpetrated on him. Failure to use the right solutions. Your state-by-state chemtrail bans, the state legislators, I can tell you right now, they know. They know they duped you. This was not unintentional. So I look at them with a different eye. In Florida, Ileana Garcia and your crowd, you got the Florida chemtrail ban. Yeah. I can tell you it hasn't stopped. Oh, but Dr. Ruby, it's not supposed to kick in until July 1st. Dude, please. Dude, back off. Shut the fuck up. Back off. July 1st. Let me see. It's July 31st. Has anybody been arrested? Ileana Garcia? Has anybody been indicted or cited even? Sergey Brown from the fake Real Clear Skies movement? Yeah, okay. Blocked me, called me psychotic. Yeah, lies. Because they're part of a fraud program. Otherwise, they wouldn't do that. They'd say, oh my gosh, Dr. Ruby, you know what? We've only gotten halfway there. Let's get these legislators back. We got to do something about the federal level. But they can't. We can't. Because there's a larger problem in play. And it is an offshoot of the PrEP Act. And that is federal loopholes. And there were 15 or 20 that Catherine Watt was able to find. Because they're slick about it. When Congress, who's supposed to be your helper, right? When Congress puts these laws in place, on the weekends and at night. Loopholes. No spraying except when, the sun is shining, or except when crickets are cricketing or frogs are walking. Those are the exceptions, but they can't do it otherwise. See, I got you a bill. Those are lies. Those are failure. They're out and out lies. Honestly, to say, I got you a chemtrail ban. And I know many of you respect Dane Wigington. I adore the man as a human being and as a warrior. And I asked him, because I knew what he believes and how he felt. But I asked him in one of my interviews with him, do you understand or agree that these state chemtrail bans are meaningless? And he said, absolutely 100%. Pretending is a lie. Pretending to do something to help the public is a lie. Well, let's see. Pam, I'm not sure I'm going to give this up yet. Maybe at a later date I'll send this to him. But honestly, it's so precious and it just hits the point. And it's my Malone cup. We'll see what else he comes up with, but he's on thin ice. And I'm going to start, we may start doing additional paper trail work. We're putting a team together on him and where he's getting his lies, because he can't allow that to happen. Otherwise, people can really hurt you and harm you. And more importantly, they can hurt the good work that I've done that has protected the public for the last 5 years. I'm really proud of it. And I'm grateful for all of your support. And just thanks for bearing with me in the last week or so. Just a lot going on. And like all of you, what I want for all of you is, faith and family first. We all need to be in this fight. I'm in it in a different way, more visible every day, but family first. God, family first, when your family needs you. And so I was in that position, which kind of, just reduced some of my visibility last week. And we're going to get back kind of in the saddle. And that'll be it. So anyway, guys, happy Thursday. Find the joy. Stay in the fight. Don't let the lies get you down. Just assume that everything is a lie when it comes from the outside like that until proven otherwise. Okay, have a wonderful Thursday. Much love. And I will see you tomorrow night on the Dr. Jane Ruby Show.